So we wanted to today, we got a message this week from someone. Let me pull it up real quick and I will read y'all the message. I don't think I don't think she's on, but I won't share her name or anything like that either. So I got a message this week that she had a quick question. She wanted to see how many bookkeepers were in her county, and when she researched it, there was a lot. So it made her start wondering if it was worth learning since I'm beginning and no bookkeeping skills currently, was what she stated. So we definitely wanted to touch on that because that is something that we hear a lot, and especially being bookkeepers and being in this support group. I'm saying in the support group, in this free group, when you start getting in the communities with bookkeepers, that's who you tend to interact with. That's who send a new friend request. So it starts to feel like there's so many bookkeepers everywhere. And it may feel like there are a ton in your county and your town and all the different places. But when she brought that up yesterday, or when we started talking about it yesterday, we started looking and researching how many bookkeeping businesses are there really out there, and how many businesses are started every year in the United States. And those numbers were me when I saw that. So was it 5.5 million new businesses were opened in 2023? So in 2023 alone, 5.5 million businesses, y'all.
When I divided that, did you already say how many bookkeeping businesses there are?
No. So in bookkeeping businesses, now this was just in general. This isn't what was opened last year or anything like that. The number that it gave me was 300,000 bookkeeping businesses. So yeah, if you want to share what you divided.
When we divided that 100 into the 5.5 million, that is 18 clients available per each bookkeeper. Some bookkeepers sign less, some bookkeepers sign a lot more. I have not signed 18 clients this year, nor is my goal to sign 18 clients this year or last year. So just put that into perspective. To run so Tracy gave her a monthly goal of 3,000 a month. And that is take home. So let's shoot for 5,000. Does that sound fair, Megan?
Yep.
So to hit 5,000 a month, Megan, what's your average client? My average right now, I think, is 550 something, mine might be 625. If I were to average all of my clients together.
I think mine are around 400 a month.
Let's use 400. Some of you guys are going to use 300 because you're saying your minimum is 300. Go ahead and use 300 for this. But let's use 400. That's 12 to 13 clients. It's 12.5 clients. That is one client a month. And in long term, if you're one client a month, so Tracy said 3,000. If we did 400, we've got 5 months left of the year. Let's do 4. It's at the end of August. That's halfway to your goal, 1,600 a month. And then you keep going, you're going to hit that in no time, right? And that's not including any cleanup. So you can hit the 3,000 a month just because you have cleanups coming consistently. So you sign a new client, they come with at least $1,200 of cleanup, you're going to hit that really quickly. Especially for a full year, my lowest typical cleanup is about 1,200, though the one I did yesterday is 775 for cleanup. She is so tiny.
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. There's clients of all sizes, because Sharon and I talked about that client yesterday whenever she was telling me about it. You have clients that are super small like that, and then you have clients who are thousands of dollars a month. It can vary greatly, and there's so many different clients. So even to say this person's worried because there seems to be a lot of bookkeepers in her county where she's at. So to even say that, you keep in mind, one, you're able to work virtually, so you can work with anybody all over the United States. You're not stuck with just within your county. So don't feel like, even if there's 100, and I don't know her number, she didn't tell me any of that, if there's 100 of them right there and you feel like, okay, I can't serve any of these local people, there's still so many other clients all over the place that are potentials out there. And y'all, even like in our paid community, Sherry and I, other bookkeepers are constantly getting business owners that will reach out, and we're like, it's not a client either that we particularly want to work with, an industry that we want to work with, or something along those lines, and we're just not a good fit. So we're referring to each other, even like the other bookkeepers and stuff. That's how many clients there are out there. It's not, oh my gosh, I have to figure out and hang on to this client no matter what, even though they're a nonprofit and I want nothing to do with a nonprofit. That's not the case. So there's no scarcity when it comes to the clients out there. But again, it can be very hard to see that there is so many clients out there when we're in all these groups with other bookkeepers, when our friends on Facebook are other bookkeepers. So you're constantly just seeing those posts on your newsfeed when you're hopping on social media and all of the things. So yeah, did you want to say anything else on that, Sharon?
The only example I have, so I started my business, I was in Phoenix, Arizona, a large city. As I networked and got to know other people, I started getting clients before I knew any other bookkeepers in the area. Obviously, there were tons. But that's the person that was finding me didn't know where to go. So I would just show where they were looking for bookkeepers, right? And they happened to find me local to them, and we got connected, right? After that, I started getting into networking groups, bookkeepers in the BNI group. So I did eventually join BNI because it was working for some other bookkeepers. And I was like, I'll try it. If I could just show up to one meeting a week and get clients, that would be amazing. One meeting plus network with other people, have some adult interaction. That was not for me, guys, but I do like adult interaction. However, the time investment and the return on investment just wasn't there for myself. And I learned that most of the chapters in BNI in Arizona, so if you're in Arizona, listen up, they have empty seats. There's not enough bookkeepers in BNI in Arizona. And if you can join a chapter and then go visit all of those other chapters, you're going to become the go-to in BNI. Because the unique thing about BNI is, like yesterday I saw a post like, hey, I'm looking for XYZ service, only refer me to a BNI member, because she gets rewards and stuff for using BNI. So note to self. But then I joined another networking group that I wasn't going to not be shouted out or not be represented if I didn't show up. So they were going to shout me out every week, regardless if I could be there or not. Which I just had a newborn at that point in time. So I was like, that is a better option for me. And so I was attending that and found out that there was another bookkeeper that lived 45 minutes south, monopolizing that that networking group. And I still got clients from that networking group. But she attended every event, like Megan was talking about, like they would do like a vendor event. She would definitely set up a booth. She would say hi to everyone. And I couldn't get advertising out. So I had to rely on like these calls, like these type of calls where I was meeting other business owners and saying, yeah, I'm a bookkeeper and this is what I do. And oh, you're having issues with QuickBooks. I can help you. I can help you with that. So there's lots of, find your own group to monopolize. Like, where do you fit in the city? Another area to not forget though, so like she mentioned her county, right? What about your unique social sphere? So my social sphere at that point in time was my church. My church was growing. I had been there for so many years, and they were encouraging business owners to start businesses. And I started my business anyway, but I got to be a resource for those entrepreneurs who were starting businesses that didn't know anything about taxes. They didn't know anything about that. And I'm still a resource today when they're like, oh, hey, someone's struggling with money. My name comes up just because of my long-term relationship with the leadership, with people who have been there for a while. So if someone new comes in, they're starting a business, my name's still going to get brought up. And that works for me, and I don't have to do anything other than show up and answer questions.
So yeah, there is plenty of work out there. So let's also talk about like a spin on that, I guess. There is plenty of work out there, but how can you stand out as the bookkeeper, the person for them to go to if they need bookkeeping help and things along those lines? So Sherry, let me pull up this link. I know she had a great book suggestion for it. It's called Get Different. Let me grab the link real quick.
So this is by Mike McKelowitz. Shocker.
I started listening to it, of course, didn't get, I got a couple of chapters in, and has some really awesome tips in it.
And guys, he's really fun to listen to on Audible. So especially if you like podcasts, he's effectively like listening to a really long podcast, and it's really nice to listen to.
He's fun. Yeah, like he's fun. He makes it interesting. Yeah. I should have had this pulled up.
Sorry, I forgot about the book.
No,
But,
it's okay.
So Get Different, in this book, it's not necessarily industry specific. So he talks to just entrepreneurs in general. But because he served some bookkeepers in the past, the same one we talked about, I think last week that came up, references bookkeepers too, because he's also a math nerd. I think he has done his own bookkeeping before. Like he's really into bookkeepers, which is probably why I like him, because I really understand like where he's coming from, like what his thought process is, and obviously profit first. So he got really into bookkeeping at one point. But in that book, he talks about the need to stand out from a crowded market and how to do that. And bookkeeping is one of those fields where it can be really crowded. You have Bitch.co, QuickBooks Live, you have all kinds of little pop-up businesses. And as a bookkeeper, remembering you don't need 100 clients. Like I saw someone yesterday, they were managing 45 clients by themselves, and they were easily doing 30,000 a month.
Wow.
So about $425 an average client. And that's definitely possible, especially when you get larger clients. So my largest client right now that I'm just doing basic bookkeeping for, no tax returns, no. And we have payroll for them. They're about 3,600 a month. I have set a minimum of 500 a month. Now, I just went under that yesterday for someone who I think is a really good referral source, and she's been in my community for a while. So she's just gonna get a discount. It doesn't make sense. I could not ever charge her $500 a month. But generally speaking, my average is 500, and I start there. I start at 500 and go up. So if you were to go to my website, that's what you're gonna find for most business owners.
Most definitely. So one thing like that one of the ways that he worded like in the beginning that I thought was funny was he talked about like saving your clients from the enemy or the bad guy is how he worded it. If you're not, and a lot of what he said made me think back to the 10X rule too, because I always that was one of the books that I listened to start with. But like you have to get yourself out there, you have to put yourself in front of the people. If you're not doing it, they don't know what you have to offer and all the things. But and what sets you apart from the other bookkeepers? That's a huge thing. And how are you going to help them and support them? Because example, we had somebody post in the group, I don't remember if it was today or yesterday, saying that she just got a cleanup job, and the other bookkeeper who had done the work previously, she's having to clean up so much stuff from there. So if you're not telling your clients like, hey, telling them who you are, they could run into those types of people who don't know what they're doing and can't do it the right way, or maybe it's not the right fit for them and those types of things. And what are some ways that you can market differently? So Michelle, like we were talking earlier, there's so many other ways, even besides just social media. But even on social media, how can you do things differently to stand out from all the other bookkeepers? So one thing that like we've started doing recently, and researching it and stuff, a lot of bookkeepers are not doing it shorts, reels. We talked about that a little bit on the call on Tuesday in the VIP session with one of the people that were there, and like talking about ways that he could turn it into like comedy, because he had some pictures of his dog, dress it up, and like those types of things. There's so many different approaches and things that you can do that could attract the clients that are meant to be your clients and stand out from the crowd. So what are some of those ways? And again, even outside of just social media, but like showing up to some of these vendor events where there might not be. Yeah, Michelle, let us know, and we're happy to talk to you about them. But yeah, if y'all have ideas and stuff like that for reels, things like that, y'all want to talk about them, figure out how to execute them, let us know. We're happy to talk to y'all about them and help. Let's see. But yeah, so how can you stand out from the other people that are in your industry? Yeah, Michelle, awesome. So Michelle joined the chamber and the Rotary Club because that's where the other business owners are in her area. So if you're looking to work, some people don't want to focus on local, but if you're looking for local, those are great things to get involved in. Any of the chambers, any of the meetings where local business owners are at, and get active in those groups. How can you help? How can you support them and everything? And another thing, how can you provide value? Because that's another one of those things where most of the people are on social media or Facebook and they're just trying to sell to them. Like, what can I get out of this? What can you give them in return? What can you give them? How can you provide value? How can you support them and things like that? So try to think about it from that standpoint as well. Sorry. So another point that like Mike Michalowicz said in the beginning of his book was figuring out at the end of the day, like figuring out what your greater why is, what he called it, besides of course starting your business, but what are you hoping to accomplish with that? And then that helps you to push, to be different, to stand out, to get the clients and all of the things. So Sherry, and if you don't feel like talking, you don't have to, but I'm sure there's so much. I know there's still so much of that book, like great tips and stuff that he had.
Yeah, so his 3 things in that book that make an effective marketing plan are: one, how are you going to differentiate yourself so that you get noticed? Think Liberty Tax. They have guerrilla marketing. They're out there on the corner in a Liberty Tax costume, spinning a street sign. That's one way they get noticed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go stand in a street sign, spin a
Right. Right.
Really, from a short standpoint, that could be hilarious. But okay, anyway, guys, are we letting them know? Okay, anyway, I'll leave that to you. I will continue his 3 points. But how are you going to differentiate? How are you going to stand out in a flood of bookkeepers who all do QuickBooks, who do Xero, who do all of these other things? What makes you different? In one of the networking groups I was in, there was another CPA. I actually did the books for this CPA. And him and I met and talked, and he used the phrase, "Oh, you're not a fly-by-night bookkeeper." And guys, we see those fly-by-night bookkeepers, and by the fact that you're on this call means you're probably not a fly-by-night bookkeeper, okay? Because you're seeking training, you're trying to do it right. And so I started using that phrase in my calls because it was such a good phrase. And okay, so number 2, attract and engage the right prospects. Not every prospect do you want as a client. They might be rude. They might be too demanding. They might be in an industry that you are not equipped to serve, such as a nonprofit, and you have no clue the gap accounting nonprofits are required to do if they're a 501c3 or depending on what they are. You might want to tell them no and refer them on. Or if they're in cannabis and they have certain requirements to meet that you don't know about, you might not be equipped to do them. Or if they're an accrual client and you don't understand accrual accounting and how that works with the balance sheet, it might be a no, not right now. Or are you willing to do the training to give them proper accounting with one-to-ones, trainings, things like that? So we want to attract to engage the right prospects. Liberty Tax, street corner, dressed up in a costume, spinning a street sign. Who are they attracting? And where do you, if you think about the Liberty Tax that's located near you, what are they located by? There's one that's located by, like they're always at shopping malls. They're easy to access, cheap rent type locations. And yeah, Michelle, your niche is nonprofits. Maybe I don't attract the same nonprofits as you do, because mellow and have the willingness to do it right is not always. I'm glad that you're attracting those. I do have a nonprofit that is mellow, and willingness to do it right is 100%. But I think that's like part of what I find.
She fires the rest. I love it.
So that would be attracting the right clients. So how are we going to show up in the world of nonprofits? Where are they at? Are they at vendor fairs? How are we going to attract them? How are we going to stand out from just the bookkeeper who might pick up an occasional nonprofit to, no, you serve nonprofits who are willing to do it right, and they're willing to do it right. Like, how are we going to do that? And then his number 3 approach to effective marketing is to direct them to take action towards the transaction. So in your marketing, so going back to Liberty Tax, the street sign is literally trying to point them back to the door. Come inside. So it's just a physical example of these 3 in play. So differentiate to get noticed. You're going to notice them on the street corner. 2, attract and engage the right prospects. Someone who's looking to do their tax return today for the cheapest price kind of possible. 3, direct them to take action towards the transaction for Liberty Tax that's getting them in the door. At least get them in the door. Let's see if we can serve them. So obviously that's a little hard to translate into a virtual remote location, but do we have time to talk about that, Megan? We're saying shorts, and earlier my tangent, my thought that Tracy laughed at me for was I had the moment of actually you could apply Liberty model to shorts. And here's what I mean by that. When you're scrolling, guys, who's guilty of just scrolling at night? Encouragement to leave your phone in the other room. But
Right.
we like funny things on TikTok. We like informational things. We like encouraging things. We like something that makes us feel good. So there is a set of performers. They're comedians. I don't know what country they're in. I want to say they're like in, I don't know where they're at. I want to say they're in the UK. I don't think they're in the United States, but they wear shiny suits. One's purple, one dresses in gold, and they have done a lot of different comedy over the years, but the thing that got picked up the most was them taking the shiny gold sheet, or whatever sheet they have at that time. I think it's mostly a gold shiny sheet. And they'll go stand on a bus stop and the camera gets pointed at them. They'll raise the gold sheet to block the bus, like you can't see where the bus is. The bus pulls up, they drop the sheet, ta-da, they made a bus appear. And often you could see the bus driving up on the other side of the sheet. So you know what's going on. And they do the same with people, where they'll hold the sheet up and then you'll see all the people leave in the background. And then they'll drop the sheet like, ta-da, everyone disappeared. And it's hilarious. Their mission is to make people laugh, to put a smile on people's face, and they're very forward focused with that. And their comedy is like, it's so bad and it makes it so funny, because they'll go to restaurants and they'll just do it. People recognize them, they get a laugh. That's their entire goal. That's their mission. Your mission is to keep business owners from, Megan just had someone like this. I just had someone like this, where I did the bookkeeping, looked at the tax return, they had overpaid. Mine was close to $40,000. I think yours was 30, a ridiculous amount, way too much. And we had them redo their tax returns. They got it back, thankfully.
Yep.
And corrected going forward, but they're still dealing with IRS letters and things like that, the headache that comes with fixing stuff sometimes, because their other tax preparer and bookkeeper did it. Just a reminder, it's okay to have two people, a tax preparer and a bookkeeper. Do not feel like you have to do both. It's not worth the headache. It's not worth the risk of costing someone. And he pulled out retirement money to pay for that tax bill because it was a surprise, and turns out he didn't even owe it. So he lost a whole year of investment growth on that income. Like, so not just like his tax return was misfiled, it was financially detrimental to the growth of that income, right? Like, it didn't grow. It got given to the IRS to sit and make no interest. That is painful. Painful. And then it cost him income because he had to quote unquote take a distribution from the business as well. So to pay it, because he was, how did that work? It wound up, the way that they did it, it wound up counting as income for him in 2024 or like in 2023. So when they filed the tax return, it was then dinged for the income. So it was not ideal. So then he had to pay taxes on paid the tax bill. Guys, that's not cool. Not cool.
No.
There are better ways to do that stuff. Anyway, but okay, so shiny blankets. I'm not necessarily telling you to go get a suit and wear shiny stuff and things like that. But could we, with a short video, be funny? So we were talking about the Arlo the dog Tuesday. And immediately, as soon as we brought up Arlo the dog, the owner of the dog was like, "Oh, I've got ideas for that."
Yep.
So it might not be. And Michelle said she has some ideas for her shorts to bounce off of you. So is there something? Could you use shorts to differentiate and get noticed? Because bookkeepers are known to be boring.
Yep.
I don't know. I think accountants are boring, but I don't know if bookkeepers have to be boring. And I remember physically getting a job because I said, I'm looking for a fun job. And yet I'm an accountant. And she was like, ooh, I want fun people a part of the team. I don't want a boring accountant. And so she hired me because that was the culture she was trying to build. So, case in point. But how can
And
you
I think, yeah,
go-
and I think that right there, Sherry, like you even just saying that, that goes back to being different, but also being you. Like, because one of the things that he also mentions is what are things that you already do or about you personally that are going to differentiate you from the other, like from your competitors, from the other bookkeepers out there and stuff. And like, whether that's something that maybe we're all fun, maybe we all want that, but it's not something that anybody's being vocal enough about in their marketing or whatever, where when Sherry said it, they're like, oh, I'm coming for you. So you want to make sure that you're being vocal about whatever is making you different and doing your marketing different so that they're taking notice and they're seeing that and they're coming like, hey, I need a bookkeeper. I want to do business with you. So yeah.
And that doesn't mean that maybe you are a serious bookkeeper. Maybe you're like, no, bookkeepers are doing it wrong. You need to be doing it correctly. And I really strongly have an opinion that you should not be doing it this way, or that you should be doing this. And I think everyone not doing this is flaming idiots. You need to lead with that. That's really your opinion. Obviously, you want to back it up. You want to be integrity. You don't want to lie. But if you strongly feel something, maybe you don't feel like anyone should be touching QBO with a grain of salt, then you would show up and be very vocal about that. Or if you only think they should be using QBO, then you want to show up and be vocal about that. If you think they should be hiring their kids in their business and they're costing themselves thousands of dollars by not, then let's show up and be vocal about that. But say you don't have a strong opinion and it's just, I'm a fun accountant. Here's how I have fun. Can we show that? And I think with shorts, it can be really hard. At one point, I was like, oh, let's be funny and do these chats. And I could never get it organized enough for me to just sit down and record. And then I finally did. And I was going to just get stuff, but it takes time. So if you're thinking about shorts, what can we do that's fairly quick? So if every morning or every afternoon, Megan, you are in carpool lane, right? Or not carpool, but pickup lane. That's a great time to do shorts, and I think you do a lot of shorts during.
I have been.
Yeah, I think of, I don't know his name. I think his name is called Dad Chats, but I'm like on TikTok, but then I'm second guessing that's his actual, I don't know. I think it's Dad Chats and Mom Chats. He records a lot of his videos in the car because he's either heading to work or he just dropped someone off or something like that. So he does it first thing in the morning in the car, or if for some reason he doesn't do it in the morning, he does it from his office. So he knows when he's going to record it, and he has one format. He sticks to that same format, and he just records whatever story he's gonna share. One format. That's all he does. He just kills that one format. Now I think he tried several different formats as he went. Yeah, they do have mom chats and dad chats, and then they do like funny guys, the fact that he can fill his mug up so close to the rim and not actually spill it is beyond me. Like every single time, I'm like, I would not be able to move that mug to my mouth in the same poise that he does. Congrats to him. But that's another way he stands out because he gets your attention. You're watching the mug. Are you going to spill it? And / why pour it from a to-go cup to a mug in the car? But that's just me. I don't really want a coffee mug in the car. But that gets your attention, right? He had another, in that book, he had a story about a real estate agent who, no, it wasn't a real estate agent. I think they were a home builder. And they physically named themselves something very specific instead of home builder, restoration company. And they gave themselves their own title. So they were no longer the home builder or the home restoration person. They were this whole new title. So instead of bookkeeper, are you a whole new title? We see this on YouTube. There is a guy called, if you're not following him, he's really funny. I like funny people, apparently, who offer educational opinions because I listen to them more. He's in essence a tax preparer, a tax strategist. But on YouTube, he is not a tax preparer. He is not a tax strategist. He is the tax alchemist. And he has made himself his own little niche. So he's tax alchemist. And that's not just a funny, oh yeah, but he's really a tax preparer. No, he's doing something different.
Right.
He stood out. He made himself his own little thing so that he can step in and serve people, not as a taxpayer, not necessarily as a tax strategist, but as a wealth of knowledge. If you alchemy, blending together and actually utilizing the tax code was really smart of him to do. So that's an example of standing out, tax alchemist. So he used his name there, but it could be your job title. What is your job title? But guys, like in the world of bookkeeping right now, so many people, so there's 300,000 business. That feels low to me, but 300,000. I don't know how many of those people have started their business like I did with no support, no information. The difference was I had an accounting background and they're not continuing to get education. So when I looked at one of my clients' previous not tax preparers, bookkeepers, who had done a nightmare of a job, you guys will find this too. And you probably stalk them just like me. Yeah. Who did this? Who are you? What are you doing? Why? How do you have business doing a bookkeeping? And you go look at them, they're not in any sort of support. They are one man in their own island, and you're like, where are you getting support from? And it's not to say that they're not getting support, but I'm like, I should be able to find somehow where you're getting support, like some sort of community that you're in, some sort of certification, continuing education that you're receiving as a bookkeeper to stay on top of it. And when I don't find that, I'm like, no wonder this is a disaster. You're not asking questions. And sometimes a bookkeeper can match up with a CPA, and the CPA is going to answer all the questions. But CPAs aren't really designed to do bookkeeping. That's not what the tests and exams are designed around. They're designed for financial statements, and it's just different. So we do our best to get the information. So we don't know. So there's don't hear like judgment or get self-conscious of yourself. We're going to do the best we can to tell you, hey, get this piece of information from them. Sometimes the client just won't provide it.
Right.
So know that. Don't hear. I know sometimes people can get really self-conscious when I'm saying that. So take that with a grain of salt. Use it to incentivize you to be different. What are your opinions? How are we going to show up? And I think shorts are a great opportunity right now, or video in general still is a good opportunity. Yeah, CPA. Oh my gosh, CPAs. That's what I say.
I had now this has been like toward the beginning of my business, but somebody reached out to me and wanted bookkeeping services. They literally came looking for a bookkeeper specifically. If you're a CPA, I do not want you doing my books. And especially at the beginning of my business, I don't know a whole lot about it. I was just, okay, because normally everybody's, oh, I need a tax preparer, I need a CPA. Talking to her, one of the comments that she made was she had a CPA doing it before, and one of the things she noticed was he didn't pay attention to the details, that he was worried about getting everything together to be able to file the taxes, which they are, and that's their job at the end of the day. But he wasn't worried about the small details. He just wanted the report and all the things. And y'all saying that again, that's not everybody. This was just her experience with the one. And it could be that maybe he had somebody in office that was doing the bookkeeping and then he was reviewing and he just didn't know the small details. But that was her experience. So she's like, no, I want a bookkeeper and then my CPA will do the taxes. So they definitely start to see the difference for sure. We were talking about that stuff.
Yeah, another book that comes to mind just on understanding how to differentiate yourself in the market would be Brand Story. Like it's a red and white book. I forget the author's name. That one would be a good one. Just what is your brand about? How are we showing up in the marketplace? Who are we? How? And this is part of why your story is important and your avatar story is important. It's like the brand story or brand story. We'll find it for you real quick. Guys, we're big into books here and videos and
all the things, anything that's going to get you and keep you moving forward in your business is the biggest thing.
So it's building. It's by Donald Miller. So I've shared another one of his books. So he's probably my second top like author when it comes to business stuff. But let me get you this link.
So with all of that being said, what questions do y'all have? What ideas do you have to stand out and all the things? Does anybody, y'all are so quiet today, super quiet. Y'all can feel free to unmute, type in the chat, whatever you feel more comfortable doing for sure.
I think that the information that has been provided even on last week's live, where we're marketing and trying to make sure that we do that piece so that we can stand out, is great information. If we work the plan, I think that we will get what we're looking for. And there's plenty of clients out there for everybody. I think that I live in an area that's very probably saturated with a lot of bookkeepers. I don't know that. I don't have no market research, but I think that and I'm just a big believer in faith. I'm a faith believer. I'm just believe that God has for me what he has for me. And I believe that he has one or two clients for me. I'm not looking for a whole lot of clients because I'm transitioning from working full-time to just part-time. But for everybody, there's a mission and there's something and a purpose for them. And I think that we should just stand on that and keep working it. I don't want to look at it and say the market is oversaturated and that puts me in a negative vibe.
Exactly. Exactly. You are 100% correct. It's all, at the end of the day, it's all about your thought process. How are you thinking about it and all the things? And I'm so glad that you said that because that's a conversation that we have all the time. Y'all, we know and we see all of us as coaches in this community, me, Sherry, Allie, all the other coaches as well. We have built successful businesses. We see other people doing it all the time, building successful bookkeeping businesses. We know what it can do, how it can change your life. So like for us, and we want that for y'all, because we talk to so many all the time, we see y'all's goals, and we know you can do it. And it gets frustrating at times because just go out and do something. Like that's how you're going to get the clients, but we like get it at the same time, because it's easy to get hung up on the small details and let fear hold you back and all the things. But you have to take the action. You have to do the things, because if you sit here, their clients are not just going to fall in your lap. And if they do, great, but that's not normal. Like you have to go out and do the work. And yeah, Cynthia, I 100% agree. Steve Harvey was still is one of my favorite people to listen to, like motivational stuff wise. And one of the things that he always says, if God put the goal, the dream on your heart, he put it there for a reason. So he gave you the tools, he's done all the things that you need to be able to accomplish that. So you just have to go out and do the work, so he can meet you there. He can meet you where you're at. He can meet you in that next step. So I think that's huge for everybody to remember and to think about, especially the ones just starting out. If you don't have any clients, you feel like you're not at those goals yet. So thank you, Cynthia, for sharing that, for sure.
Thank you, Cynthia. And it's true, even if you wanted a 6-figure business, you can actually do a 6-figure business with under 20 clients. You want it, you can do it. And